Today, I want to talk to you about the lessons that I learned from being in a situationship. The first lesson that I learned is that when someone tells you they don't want you the first time or they're not looking for a relationship, believe it. I found myself staying longer in situationships because I didn't believe guys when they told me that, hey, they're not looking for a relationship, they just don't want anything in this time of their life. I really wanted a relationship. I really thought that I could change their minds. I really thought that eventually things would change. I stayed there in hopes that things will get better, that they will want me, that we will figure things out. But the longer that I stayed, I realized that their minds weren't changing. What we started with in the very beginning of where they stood is where we ended up in three months afterwards, 6 months after, and even a year after. I felt like because we had spent much more time together, they have gotten to know me, we did a lot of things together, I felt like their mind were going to change, that eventually they will come around. But that never happened. The second lesson that I learned is to pay attention to how someone makes me feel. When I was in those situationships, I was so focused on making sure that they were good, that their feelings and their needs were being met. And I didn't pay so much attention to how they were making me feel. I felt like an option. I felt like this is no longer the space that I wanted to be in. But because I was so focused on being the one for them, I failed to recognize that they weren't really the one for me either, because they weren't meeting my needs. They weren't creating that space for me to feel safe. Are they making you feel good about yourself? Are they making you feel like you can go and conquer the world? Or are they bringing out more of your insecurities? And I think that's important, because if you don't pay attention to that, you will find yourself overcompensating to feel validated, to feel wanted, and to feel loved. I've been there in those situations where sometimes I find myself doing things or just seeking out validation from them. And sometimes rather than the validation, you'll get things like, oh, you're doing too much, you're being too much of this, you're being too much of that. And after a while, that eats you up. So make sure that you pay attention to how you're being treated and how you're feeling throughout the whole process. So the third lesson that I had to learn was that I didn't love myself enough. And that was a wild awakening for me, because, we all are like, oh yeah, I love myself, I do all of this. But then I had to ask myself, what is going on inside of you, Syera, that it was okay for someone to talk down on you and you stayed? For someone to treat you like an option and you're still staying there as if this is like God's gift to the earth. And I had to come to the realization that I didn't love myself enough. I didn't have the strength, I didn't have the courage, I didn't have the confidence to even step up and do what was best for me. I wanted this relational outcome so bad that I was willing to risk my heart. Like, I was giving my heart to people who could not care for it. And that is because I wasn't even caring for my heart myself. So because I never took the time to truly tend and care for my heart, to protect it, to guard it, it became easy for me to give it to others who couldn't care for it. I had to set that boundaries and expectations before I could expect other people to do that for me, so that I can go on this journey to self-discovery, to learning more about God's love for me and loving myself better. I think it was one of those things that created a flashlight in my face and said, hey, wake up. You need to learn more about yourself, love yourself unconditionally before you can look outwards for that love, because you'll always be looking outwards from a place of desperation, a place of hunger, rather than looking from a place of full satisfaction. And if you're not truly satisfied, none of these guys can satisfy you. You will always be settling for less than you deserve. So the fourth lesson that I learned was to stop entertaining emotionally unavailable men. I realized that I had a pattern of every guy that I was attracted to, they didn't want a relationship, right? They weren't emotionally available. They never talked about their feelings. They bottled everything inside. And I asked myself, like, why is it that I keep attracting these type of men? And being totally vulnerable with you guys here, I had to realize that this attraction stemmed from childhood. I wanted my dad to be more emotionally available for me, to be there, to be present, to be that daddy's girl, like, oh, I love you, and do all these little sweet things, right? And because I feel like I didn't get that, I was always looking for it outside. So therefore, I found myself with men who embody that dad and daughter relationship that I had growing up. And I realized that at some point, I can't have this dad and daughter relationship of my dad not being emotionally available be this thing that continuously hold me back from actually having a healthy relationship. I want to be with somebody where I can be vulnerable enough with, share my feelings and my thoughts, and they can do the same for me. But I just felt like in my situationship, these guys were real stone walls, and I felt like I was like Muhammad Ali trying to break down those walls to get into their soul. And now, because I recognize where this root of attracting emotional unavailable men stems from, I can be more conscientious about healing that part of me so that I'm no longer navigating towards men who obviously aren't available, aren't ready. The fifth lesson that I learned is to take things slowly. I realized that for me, I don't know what taking things slowly means, right? Because when I like somebody, I go like super nuts and crazy. You'll know I like you just based on how I act towards you, right? 1 minute we're talking on the phone, next minute you're moving in. I go super fast. But that's something that I learned, that you barely know the person because you're always moving super fast with people. You don't give yourself enough time and space to actually build a healthy relationship. 1 minute you're on the phone just getting to know the person today for like 5-10 minutes, and then next week you're spending hours on the phone, you're falling asleep on the phone. That is unhealthy. You're not giving yourself enough space and time, and that is something that I was doing. This person became my life because we're always spending time together, we're always in each other's company, and because of that, I didn't give myself enough time to breathe, to truly assess whether this person is the person that is right for me. I developed feelings too fast, right? So it wasn't gradual steps towards actually having feelings for this person. It was like, we're here today, a week from now, my feelings are here, right? Super fast. And because now I had invested so much feelings into that person, it became hard to let go, because it's like, ooh, I don't want to break my own heart, because letting you go means that I'm also having to let go of the things that we're doing, the fun that we're having, and all of that. Even though I know you don't want a relationship, but the benefits that you come with, I want it. I'm not ready to let it go yet. So taking a step back and really investing your time. Are you investing more hours, more energy, more effort too early on when this person has not shown you that they deserve this type of investment from you yet? And that's something that I never pay attention to, because I felt like, well, you like me, I like you, now it's time for us to talk, spend as much time as we need to spend together, and then land over there. But sometimes I felt like I was running towards it, and I was getting there faster than the guys that I was with. So going forward, it's just one of those lessons to take it a day at a time. Allow yourself to really get to know the person, really understand whether you meet this person's needs and whether or not they meet your needs before you're even talking about, yo, are we like together now? You wish. The sixth lesson that I learned is that I was the common denominator in all of this. It's easy to point fingers and say, he did this, he did that, he was this, he was that. But at the end of the day, I was the common denominator amongst all the guys that I talked to. And I had to eventually face myself in the mirror and realize that I too had to take full responsibility for the things that I did in those situationships. I had to realize that I needed to heal. I needed time to really just work on myself, heal, and allow God to transform me from the inside out, because I kept making the same mistakes over and over. dating the same guys, but just in different bodies. And I realized this is not the life that I want to live. This is not the type of person I want to be 10, 15 years from now. I don't want to end up in my 30s or in my 40s and still talking about why John over there isn't shit when I have shit actions too. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say somebody ain't shit and think that I'm the shit when I'm also doing things that shows that I ain't shit either, you know? So I had to own up and realize that I needed to grow. I had to let go of beliefs. I had to let go of habits. I had to reframe my mindset on how I see men, how I see relationships, and how I date, point blank period. And one of the things I just wanted to add here is if a guy has a girlfriend, if the guy is married, separated, or whatever, if he's not truly single, that guy is not for you. God is not going to send somebody who's already taken, who's already booed up with somebody else and say, hey girl, this is your man. He's not. So pay attention to those signs early on and walk in integrity and respect for yourself so that you say no early on and you don't make those mistakes. So like I said, these were my lessons. I'm not sure if they apply to you. Some may not. But I just wanted to share my experiences, what I went through, so that if it inspires or encourages someone else not to make the same mistakes that I made, then you know, job well done. So question of the day. What lessons have you learned from being in a situationship or relationship that you can share with us so that we can learn and grow together? Thank you so much for watching, for going on this series with me. Can I be honest with y'all? This is like one of the first time I said I'm gonna do something and I did it all the way through. I'm proud of myself for accomplishing this situationship series. It means a lot to have started it, to finish it, and to have had you guys support through it. So yeah, let's do it. See you guys next week.